Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Sandy Smith, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Sergeant Kim Vandervloot. We warmly welcome the family of Private Edward Henry James Miller, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament. Flowers of the forest, wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Edward Henry James Miller. Edward Henry James Miller, known as Harry to his family and friends, was born on the 26th of March 1902, the eldest of 6 children born to Edward and Margaret Miller of Adelaide. Edward was educated at Christian Brothers College and after his schooling worked as a spot welder. He was a keen sportsman who served as a trainer for the West Torrens Football Club and spent 10 years as a trainer for local runners. On the 27th of July 1935, he married Mary Irene Morris, known as Molly. They had one child, Pauline. Throughout this period, Harry served for 5 years in a local militia force. He enlisted into the 2nd Australian Imperial Force on the 18th of June 1940, and after 6 months of training, joined the 2nd 3rd Machine Gun Battalion. Machine gun battalions were well-armed, motorised infantry units capable of providing extra support for regular infantry, as they had a higher concentration of Vickers medium machine guns. Miller embarked for overseas service in April 1941. In the Middle East, his unit participated with the 2nd 3rd Machine Gun Battalion in Operation Exporter. This was a short but brutal campaign in June and July against Vichy French forces in Syria and Lebanon. Troops serving in the 2nd 3rd Machine Gun Battalion in the Syria-Lebanon campaign often served in companies or platoons attached to regular battalions. Throughout the campaign, they took part in several major battles, including the attack on the enemy-held Crusader castle at Mer Dayoun and the capture of Damascus. The campaign was a success for the Allies. After it ended, Miller and the 2nd 3rd Machine Gun Battalion served on garrison duties in the often snow-covered mountains of Lebanon and Syria. Harry regularly wrote home. After the Syria-Lebanon campaign, he wrote to his wife, Molly, asking, "Does our beautiful baby still speak of me, or do you think she has forgotten me? I hardly think she would know me if I walked in now." He also wrote directly to his daughter, "I am going grey-haired worrying and longing to be back with you, Pauline." Months later, around Christmas of 1941, he wrote to his young daughter, "Thank you, little angel, for your beautiful letter. Your daddy loves you dearly, Pauline." But he would never see his young family again. In February 1942, most of the 2nd 3rd Machine Gun Battalion transferred with other Australian forces from the Middle East to the new Pacific Theatre for the war against Japan. In late February and early March, they served alongside Australian, American, British and Dutch units in Java in modern-day Indonesia in the face of an overwhelming Japanese attack. After pulling up stiff resistance for several days from March 4th, they were eventually ordered to lay down their arms and entered Japanese captivity. Miller was reported as missing in action during this period. After several months in which his family had no certainty about whether he was alive or dead, he was confirmed as a prisoner of war. In a small number of short cards that the Japanese allowed their prisoners, Miller told his wife and daughter that his health was good and implored them to keep their chins up. Miller had been sent to work on the infamous Thai-Burma Railway. Conditions were extremely tough. Prisoners were forced to work long hours in fierce tropical conditions with very little food. Diseases such as malnutrition, dysentery, cholera, smallpox, malaria, and beriberi, a vitamin deficiency, were common. Many suffered inhumane treatment at the hands of the Japanese and Korean guards. In total, 9,500 Australian prisoners of war worked on the construction on the Thai-Burma Railway. Of these, more than 2,500 died. Miller was one who succumbed to the brutal conditions. On the 3rd of February 1944, he is reported as having died of beriberi and dysentery in Thailand. He was 41 years old. Miller is buried in the Kanchanaburi War Correction Cemetery in Thailand, alongside nearly 7,000 other Commonwealth and Dutch casualties of the Second World War. His grieving wife, Molly, and daughter, Pauline, wrote on his grave that he was dearly loved and sadly missed. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left among some 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Edward Henry James Miller, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.